Good evening. We are back with another Barbershop Talk event. That is my phone ringing. I don't know why, but trust everyone is well, and we are keeping safe. And if you are in Winnipeg, I hear people. Oh, it's just warm now. If you are in Winnipeg, please keep warm. It's snowing. Yes, for folks in Ottawa and Toronto. My name is Warren Clark. I am a assistant professor at U of M. And I'm also the founder and organizer of this program called the Barbershop Talks, Black Men and Misconceptions. Really appreciate you being here. Thanks for registering. Thanks for your support. But before we get into things, I want to acknowledge that the seated U of M or Winnipeg were located on original lands of Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Cree, Dakota, and Dene people, and on the homeland of Métis Nation. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories, and we acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past. And we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership in a true reconciliation and collaboration. So I want to acknowledge that before we get into things. But I'd like to be vulnerable with folks, if I could. Before I get into any type of vulnerability, I want to acknowledge this. I want to acknowledge my lineup, so we're going to talk about that in a moment. All right. But, you know, we have a really important topic tonight that has had me thinking for the last 3 weeks on why we should continue addressing this topic, which is, you know, how Black men, young men particularly, experience and have faced barriers and challenges with detention centers and prisons within Canada. Now, this is a topic that has become in some moments or some spaces as a hot topic. It's spoken about and it's discussed, and then it's only spoken about when, you know, certain people are talking about it. But one of the things we want to do tonight is encourage a continuous dialogue. Now, I'm going to share something with folks that happened to me, and I trust my vulnerability is taken away to start to think through this topic with clarity. You know, I remember when I used to grow up, when I was in Toronto, when I was a young kid, believe it or not, with all the gray hair in my chin. I remember, you know, I'd call him a mentor. You know, he was one of those guys that looked out for everybody in the neighborhood. And I remember him telling me that, you know, after he did a couple years in prison, he said to me, you know, Warren, this whole society is a prison. You know, we're being policed by the COs, who are the police officers, and the correctional officers and judges and lawyers are also policing us while we're out here thinking we have freedom. Now, I end up saying it word for word as he said it, but that was when he said it in that moment, it was as someone's walking in front of me, it's okay, we still love him. You know, in that moment, it was for me, you know, it was him telling a story of what he experienced and what he's continuing to experience even after being freed from jail. Now, today's conversation is just a conversation. It's not to spotlight Warren. It's not to spotlight anybody who's coming to share their views in the first 45 minutes, which we're going to get to in a moment. But it's an opportunity to hear people, and let's discuss some of the things that we can focus on and how we can really create an opportunity and a moment of clarity for Black men or young Black men, so they can stay out of prison and stay out of detention centers. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it to Toronto because we're doing this in 3 cities, and we're just going to first introduce ourselves, all right? And we're sets of people, Black men, right? Not to discredit any other people out there, but this is an important topic here. But we're going to just introduce ourselves in different cities, and we're going to kick it back to me after we introduce ourselves. And we're going to discuss really quickly about how we're going to go proceed with the evening. So hang tight. Toronto, can we get Toronto on the screen? Oh, those are beautiful people right there. Smile. Everybody's so serious. Jeez. Oh, by the way, someone said I look like Danny Toretto from Fast and Furious because I got the white shirt. All right, who's over there? Who's over there? Talk to me. Talk to us. Who's over there?
Here, Warren, is Tamari.
Oh, Tamari, who are you? Talk to us real quick.
Tamari Katosa, professor of sociology at Brock University. editor of the new book, Appealing Because He's Appalling, Black Masculinities, Colonialism, and Erotic Racism.
I'm talking about. Round of applause for Dr. Mark Kosa. I'm going to say it. I always say it. He's my mentor. I appreciate him. Always love him. All right. Who's next to you in that roof sweater? Who are you? Talk to us.
Michael Opoku Forfier, councillor, 10 years inside as a councillor, and yeah, just happy to be a part of this conversation.
Michael, we appreciate it. Round of applause for Michael. Here we go. Who are you in that dapper suit there?
Right, so coming from work, it's Nia Singh, human rights, criminal defense lawyer, but also 20 years hip hop producer, but just community member. My brother, like all of you here, just fighting the good fight.
Appreciate it. Round of applause for Nia Singh, please. Round of applause. My man. No, sorry, my bad. My bad. Please tell me who you are. Speak to us.
Okay, this is Louis March, founder of the Zero Gun Violence Movement in Toronto, a community advocate for over 30 years, working particularly with young men and issues relating to education of our people in a very tilted education system.
Appreciate it. Round of applause for Louis Mark. All right. So we got one more person in Toronto, but he's not in Toronto. All right. I'm not gonna throw any shade, but he's enjoying the weather somewhere. But he can tell who he is. Loving those red glasses. Who are you, my brother?
Yo, greetings, folks. My name is Brandon Hay. I'm the founder of the Black Daddies Club, and I'm grateful to be here, man.
All right, Brandon. Hey, round of applause. All right. So you thought we were only doing one city? No, we ain't doing one city. No, put up the other city, please. Ottawa. Let's see what's going on. Oh, who's that? Who's that over there? No, Tony, is that you in the background? I miss you, Tony. Sorry, my bad. Who are you? We got Toronto Raptors sweater there. You're on mute. You're on mute. There you are.
There you go. So it's your boy Arnold Tabarro. I'm out here at the Right Cut Barbershop, right off Saint Laurent Boulevard. We got a whole squad going on here, and we got my man Tony, owner, out here still cutting at 7:10 on a Friday night, getting every man's right. And then obviously we got Peter in the background. He'll eventually come into the camera, but yeah, we're small, but we're here, and we're going to be part of the conversation.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Round of applause for Arnold. Tony always holding it down. And just so you know, the first barbershop talk took place in that it's gone. In the Right Cut in Ottawa. That was the first barbershop talk that happened where it happened. Now, before we get into how this is gonna happen, as you know, there's 3 sites for a reason. Now, as you may think that, you know, the experience of young black men or black men in this relation to, you know, in the challenges with the prisons and detention centers, they may in mind think it's, you know, homogeneous or the same in one location, but in reality, it could be different. But before I get deep into that and what the differences are, and maybe the similarities, we're going to talk about that with our featured guest. But before I do that, we got some people here in Winnipeg that got to introduce themselves. Who are you?
Thanks, Professor Warren. I'm Anthony. I'm from Bilan Community and Family Center, and I've been working with different prevention programs that are directly related with Black people. And currently, I'm working with the restorative justice program that's meant for Black people and people who are like Black people and Muslim who are in custody. Yeah.
All right, round of applause, family. Give him fist bumps. Give him fist bumps. Well dressed. What's nice?
He's back, you know? New blade coming out.
There we go. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Hello, everyone. My name is Wilfred Sam King. I'm the current chair of the UN Black Alliance at the University of Manitoba, but I'm also the founder of the Rising Stars Foundation, which helps youth from underserved communities with holistic development. So that's education, athletics, active living and helping them within their life. And thank you, Warren, for having me here today.
Appreciate it. Round of applause, Wilfred. Young King, who are you?
Hey guys, my name is Rulong, but you can call me Shemi. I'm a third-year university student at University of Manitoba. I met Warren surprisingly at a coffee shop, and we just talked it out. And well, here I am today. I'm grateful you brought me here.
I'm grateful you being here. You know, I'm gonna learn from all y'all, and you too, wherever you are. All right, so we have Chris. We have to give a shout out to Chris. Chris from University of Manitoba do the technical stuff that I don't know how to. But we have a great audience here, and Francis, got to give you a shout out. My man, Francis, you want to tell who you are real quick? Who you are?
Hey guys.
There you go, that's Francis. There we go. Francis is a first-year PhD student in the anthropology department. So we're gonna get things started. But before we do, can we get Tamari on the screen? Because Tamari is gonna give us a little bit of information about why we're here. Just a quick. There you are, Tamari. So a few words for us, please, about what this topic really means, why we're here, why it's so important.
Thanks, Warren. So the reality is that we have a lot of young men that are criminalized, demonized, and they're being literally washed or recycled through the criminal industrial complex. And this is having a massive impact on their lives in terms of the trauma that they suffer from being in the schools and then being shunted into the prison system. And you have a lot of young men that are exercising tremendous resilience, tremendous creativity. And I think the key thing is that we have a lot of people in the community that are supporting our young males as they go through the trial and tribulation of being locked up and locked down. And so, you know, it's important for us to have this conversation, to humanize our young men and to hold them up as they struggle.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Arnold, I'm gonna get your opinion in a moment, but I wanted to set the ground rules of what's gonna happen because time's always against us. You're probably sitting at home, you're like, man, I wish I got more Warren, you know? I want to see more Warren. It's so cool, right? That's what my students say, but that's neither here nor there. So one of the things that you're going to witness in this barbershop talk is you're going to see a conversation unfold like you're sitting in a barbershop, right? This is not about professor or doctor or lawyer or advocate. This is about human beings having a conversation, right? We're kicking it. See, like Anthony, he's just chilling, right? And the whole point is to encourage people to relax, you know? We have these conversations, like Tamara just mentioned, sometimes people's shoulders are up, you know? People are like, ooh, so it's difficult to hear? Oh my gosh, right? But if you feel safe and you feel comfortable, you feel relaxed, you're gonna sit like Anthony and be like, yeah, talk that truth right there. You know what I mean? Talk that out. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're trying to encourage. So the first 45 minutes, you're going to witness in a conversation just between the three cities, okay? And Brandon. Brandon's not there, okay? and then after that, you folks at home, guess what? You get to participate in the conversation too. Hold up, that was it? Folks here sitting here, you get to participate too. Yeah, all of y'all get to participate. Yeah, he's ready. He's ready. I see the eyes, right? So this is your opportunity to ask questions, right? But before we do, this is a safe space, okay? This is not a space where we're going to demonize people. It's not a space we're going to villainize people. This is not a space where we're going to do harm, all right? This is a space I want to encourage us to appreciate people and their lived experiences. You may hear some things that are not going to sit well with you, but doesn't mean it's meant to hurt you. What it's meant to do is challenge you mentally. And if it's challenging you mentally, then you came to the right spot. Okay? So before we get in there, Arnold, what's your thoughts on this said topic? What's going on over there in Ottawa? Like what value can add to, you know, before we kick things off? What are you thinking?
What up? You know what? It's interesting that the question gets kicked back here to Ottawa. A lot of people tend to think of us as kind of like the smaller party. But fun fact, we actually used to be one of the most highest crime cities in Canada years back. So a fun fact for you. So in Ottawa, you can go visit some of we have 2 jails that have been turned into places you can go visit. But in short, I would say after speaking with some of my colleagues, so I work for the government, after speaking with some of my colleagues, it was interesting to find out that I believe if you are incarcerated for more than 2 years, so right before you get released, there's a 30-day program, 30 days right before you get released, that tries to basically reintegrate you into normal society, whatever it may be. So I think that's a first step. So it's wonderful to hear that that essentially we're trying to get people right. And I think as opposed to our cousins down south, the States, I think we're doing one thing great, which unless, you're trying to work for a bank and you went to jail for, let's say, fraud, for the most part, you can still work. You don't have that nasty tag on you. So employers will still take you in. So there's a little bit more humane factor in Canada that we have. And so I think that's is really dope. And living in Ottawa, I think we do a good job from what I understand. So jump off from
All right, so let's save some of that for you got a lot of good points, right? And I feel like I want to challenge that like in a barbershop.
Okay.
I think going to.
We're at the barbershop, so
We're not there yet. But hold up. So before we get into the talk, all right, and we got some giveaways. What are we giving away, Adele? In 3 different cities. What are we giving away? What are we giving away? Can you show what we're giving away, Adele?
where the J's at?
Oh, look at that. A Parent Eats Barbershop. But guess what? If you're sitting at home and you think you're going to log off and get a win a pair of J's, it ain't happening. You got to stay for the entire thing. You got to watch. You got to learn. All right. And we got 1 in each city. Yes, you have a chance to retain one of those Jordans. All right. In your size, not Warren's size, in your size. Okay. And we got 2 beard kits we're going to be giving away. We're gonna show the ad for the beard kits in a minute or at the end of the segment. But let's kick things off because that Warren's talking too much. You don't want to hear Warren no more, right?
I kind of do.
You can't want to hear me? 1-1 over, folks. There we go. All right. So, Tamari, you want to help us start things off in Toronto and with Brandon? What's going on? Talk to us. How are we going to start things off? Help us.
Yeah, why don't we start with Brandon? We're going to go alphabetically. And,
okay.
Brandon brings a tremendous amount of community-based experience and initiative and originality in terms of the work he's doing with the Black Daddies Club. But one of the key things that Brandon is doing right now is really looking at the issues of trauma and appropriate, culturally appropriate well-being services. So the question that I want to put to Brandon is that from his perspective, as someone engaged in developing culturally appropriate mental well-being services, what do you see as the key issue relating to effective reintegration for young Black men? What are the challenges? What are the successes?
Yeah, man, I think I'm 15 years working with Black fathers through the Black Daddies Club, but I'm also in my 3rd year at the Gestalt Institute, studying to become a therapist. And one of the push for that is there's a lack of Black men who are therapists. I saw Brother Rohan Thompson, who just came in, and he's like one of the few dope therapists in the city. And it's not like that we don't have good therapists in the city, it's just that we don't have enough of them. You know what I'm saying? And I think one of the things that I'm thinking through right now as I'm studying through, in my classes, is that like, I'm the only Black man in my class. You know what I'm saying? There's no one that looks like me. So I know like the theory is done by white men and white women who are not necessarily, you know, the lens that they're looking at Black folks and Black men specifically is that we are threats. You know what I'm saying? The same way a few years ago we saw Andrew Loku, who had a mental health illness episode, and it ended in death. And the same thing with the Sistren Regis last year, I believe, who, you know, she died as well, who was having a mental health episode. So I think there's I guess what I'm getting at, how that ties into this idea of reintegration and you know, incarceration is that, like, a lot of Black men and Black folks goes undiagnosed in terms of mental health illness. You know, in Toronto, you have a really great program called SAPACY, and I've referred a lot of folks, young people. One of the challenges is that SAPACY is for young people. You know what I'm saying? Young Black folks. And, you know, for folks who are, you know, Black men, especially in this time of COVID, we have limited spaces that we can go to and where Black men sort of engage. So you know, the barbershop is one of the few places where Black men traditionally go and, you know, talk, and it's okay for us to talk. You know, we have that permission. And, you know, we saw with COVID that kind of got shut down. You know what I'm saying? So I think one of the challenges is that we have to sort of create spaces. We have to be innovative, whether it's the barbershop sessions as Warren and Tamari is doing, as well as, you know, stuff like, say, Sunday dinners that I'm doing with Black Daddies Club that happens once a month, is creating spaces for Black men. And we have to be innovative. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't just say, yo, Black men go to see a therapist and get that support, because there is a taboo. I'm a Jamaican man, and there is a taboo around madness, that, like, you know, I've seen how, like, Black folks, even in my family, I've got ostracized from because having mental health illness. And when that goes undiagnosed, that can lead to violence, that can lead to different things, and that can also be a pipeline to the prison system. So I think we have to think about different ways and intentional ways around engaging Black men around our mental health. And I think that would also help around decreasing or supporting, you know, Black men, you know, staying away from the prison system. That's not the only issue, but I think that's a big issue that we have to bring into the conversation.
That's wonderful, Brandon, because what you've just touched on are some of the key issues that Michael deals with as a counselor, because you're seeing the trauma and literally the PTSD right in front of you. So, like, when you are, and the benefit is, like, for us now, you can bring, like, an international perspective because you're working with men in the UK, and so you have, like, a broader perspective. So what are you seeing in terms of what are the key issues relating to either PTSD, culturally appropriate counseling and therapy, and just, like, how do you go about supporting young Black men in prison to facilitate their transition?
Thank you. It's a big issue. Brandon, you've touched on many of the points that I was going to raise. I think it's about, for me and my experience, it's about healing and then providing an understanding as to safety. A Black man or a group of Black men that I have worked with. For them, it was about finding safety within that group, perhaps within a barbershop too, you find that. And so when I was at Swellside, HMP in Kent, England, what I was able to do was facilitate men being open, honest, and vulnerable with each other. And for me, there's a whole heap of translation towards health once somebody recognizes that they can be vulnerable with other men and look to find not just solution, but a way beyond some of the difficulties that they've faced in their past.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So some of the key things I think that you just touched on is the difficulties in their past, because we have on the website a document that lays out some of the key issues. And there was a Senate committee that was looking at, well, how do, you know, people end up in prison? And one of the things that they pointed out is trauma. poverty, the intergenerational trauma from slavery, from colonialism. So this raises now for me, like for someone like Nia, who's a lawyer, criminal lawyer, but who's also worked with the community, particularly young men in the music industry, where much of our communities, where our young men are suffering poverty, families are suffering poverty. So there's a way in which, as Wesley Critchlow pointed out, that government housing, subsidized housing ends up being a prison in and of itself. So from your perspective as a community activist and advocate, and now a criminal lawyer, what for you are the key issues as you look at the issue of transition from prison to community?
The major issue I see with transition from prison to community is the lack of opportunity when they come out. And one thing that, as we're talking, it dawned on me. When we talk about reintegration, we talk about coming from prison, going back to society. If you grow up and your role in society is around things that are deemed criminal behavior or have negative repercussion, you're just going back into what you came from. So there's no rehabilitation in prison. And then the lack of opportunity when you come out, you maintain the same status quo that you had when you went in. So if you're 5 years old and you see your older brother, 12 or 13, stopped by police, harassed, searched, then you see your other cousin who's 17, who's selling drugs and has a gold chain, and then his uncle, who's one of the big men on the block, that's what you are emulating. That's your environment, that's what you look up to. So now the key issues for reintegration, first off, there's no opportunity. Second, your peer group. If your friends are all around and you're not going to school, you're getting in trouble, you're getting kicked out, you're not going to be the one in class who's sitting down reading the books and doing the right thing, because all of your friends are in the principal's office or expelled. So eventually you're going to end up doing it. So your peer group has a lot to do with your successful reintegration, because the guys, when they come out, what do? Oh, you're back on the block. Here's something to run with. Go hit it, right? A quote from one of my rappers, Don Million, he said, my manager, he was locked up when he wrote this. He said, my manager wants me back rapping on beats, but the man them want me clapping the heat, right? Like he's saying, okay, I got this path, but this other path is calling you. So first you got lack of opportunity, you have your peers, and then you just have the constant discrimination that we face and targeting. I have a whole list of them, but there's the constant targeting and discrimination when you come back out.
You know, I hear all that and it makes perfect sense to me. But you're also saying something that I'm going to channel to Louis, which is I can tell you and the audience that there's a book called Dorm Room Dealers. Check it out. As a professor at a university that has a police foundations program, I've had young white men who come to me and tell me that the biggest dope dealers at Brock University and at Niagara College were white boys in their class. So we have this association that we make between ghetto and drugs, but we really don't want to understand that the distribution of high-level narcotics is white middle-class males.
Absolutely.
And if you are, and I know of young white women who cross the border routinely with drugs. So we're creating literally by focusing the narrative of drugs on young Black men who may be out of necessity, engaging in a market economy, that creates a whole domain of privileged protection for young white men and women to engage in drugs. So Louis, the question to you is, you've talked to and dealt with and worked with the young people that you call, and they describe themselves as the shadow people. So we have an entire economic social order that channels young people on the margins to scavenge, and then we demonize them and lock them up when they do. But what's your take in terms of how do we like clear the fog of this and deal with effective reintegration and rehabilitation? Because if they're going into prison already from communities where there is no habilitation, how can they be rehabilitated?
I'm going to answer this. I want you to picture a funnel where you throw things in and it comes up. When it comes to Black youth, there's many ways of getting into that funnel, and there's minimum ways of getting out. flip the funnel upside down, and for other people, there are little ways of getting into it, but many ways of getting out. You see the picture? We got a problem because we have a justice system that has three elements. One is policing, one is justice, and one is, someone said correction, but I call it punishment, right? And we're getting our butts kicked in all three of them. The police have a mandate to scoop up as much as they can put into the funnel. So a charge that a Black youth will encounter, somebody might get a slap on the wrist, or I didn't see it, right? For a Black youth, you're not gonna get that blind. So they're scooped up, they're put into the system, and then you have a justice system that is not gonna give them a chance. Bail conditions, charges, judges, lawyers, all conspire to send them to the next stage, which is to jail. And then when they're in jail, they call it correction system. I call it a punishment system. That goes on in there. There's no rehabilitation taking place. There's no corrections taking place. And then as Nia has said, when they come out, how do you expect? How do any reasonable thinking person think they're gonna rehabilitate? When what Brandon speaks about, the resources and services, they're non-existent. The ones that do exist collect a lot of money claiming they're doing this, but these young kids know what's going to happen. They're gonna gravitate back to the environment in which they came from, and they're gonna end up again. And one other thing I wanna make clear that I'm seeing really hurts, right, is that a young student at Ryerson that worked with me on a project or class assignment. And after about 2 months, she said, Louis, I'm a white woman. I carry drugs on me, and I have no fear of being stopped. But my Black friends, if they have a spliff on them, they always have to look over their shoulder. The system is set up against Black youth, and then when they get caught up in that funnel, what are the chances of them rehabilitating in the system, or even when they come out? When the services and supports, according to Brandon, are tilted in other people's best interests. We got a major problem here.
So this is, so listen, so this is all dynamic stuff. So let me channel this to Arnold now by giving a little bit of a story. I used to run a youth mentoring program at a detention center before the Roy McMurtry opened up. And I had this one kid, 16 years old, brilliant. And I brought books to him, and we would talk books, we talked popular culture. And at one point he said to me, he said, listen, professor, when I go back out into the community, I'm gonna go back and deal dope. And I said, listen, man, what are you talking about? I'm investing all this time where you're making so much wonderful progress. He said, listen, for every day that I'm here is one day longer that I survive over my competitors. I thought that I had to accept that there was a certain logic in what he was saying, given the reality that he has to deal with. So Arnold, based on all this dynamic conversation, we're kicking it over to you in Ottawa.
Good. I think lots has been said. Thank you very much for all that wealth of knowledge. Personally, in Ottawa, I believe that there is, maybe it's a little bit different, but I believe us being the capital city, there's a little bit more of the light is shone a little bit stronger in Ottawa, in that, I mean, we've seen in the last 3-4 years, anything that happens, especially with our young Black youth, it doesn't get swept under the rug as easily. So you see that the community comes together and really just battles it out for whatever the case may be. And I find that as opposed to a bigger metropolitan city such as Toronto or Montreal, it might be that it used one day, but then it gets quickly just faded out. But in Ottawa, I think anywhere from our justice system, to our police system.
Yeah.
Everyone's a little bit more careful. And myself, I've had my run-ins with the law, but I'm never worried about, you know, anything escalating beyond just a few back and forth that end up sour with an officer. We don't have officers on bicycles unless it's the summer. We have officers that refer to you nicely, they conversate, and even when, if so happens, you know, you were on your way to the gym and you forgot your wallet, they'll ask you a bunch of information before escalating into anything. And if it does, I've heard of issues where it's just, hey, can I get a supervisor on site? And then that conversation translates to no more than a ticket, and then we'll see you in court. But I do believe that from what my conversations with my colleagues, my previous colleagues that work in the system, I do believe that we do have, unfortunately, it's almost like likened for people of color. And I think that there could be more work that could be done. I don't have stats, unfortunately, for you. I would love to have statistics for you, but I think that we in Ottawa are doing a better job in terms of coming together whenever there's a specific case and making a point to it. I don't think that that's necessarily something that Toronto can do because you're 10 times bigger than we are. So I think that's where perhaps it funnels through. We have our rough neighborhoods. There's certain neighborhoods in Ottawa, I wouldn't even go beyond 11 p.m. just because, I mean, what am I doing, you know, in those neighborhoods? I'm young, I'm Black, I'm a father of two, you know, unless I have any business in there, I wouldn't go. But also, if I can just, in closing, if I can speak to what I've seen as in the past, I used to work as a bouncer, you know, a doorman in the club. I have seen certain realities that I challenge the cops, whereby white man, Black man fighting, cops come in, they automatically assume that it's the Black man that's at fault. And it's frustrating. And we've had to go ahead and question the cops, and they say, well, he's bigger. That's not the question. You were called on because we couldn't go ahead and contain the situation. But you were called and you assumed. So I think there's still definitely room for growth, even in a smaller town like Ottawa, especially. Ottawa being the capital. But I do believe that we've made some segue, especially now that we have our chief of police being of Caribbean descent. So I think that we're going in the right direction. He's in his second year. So let's see how things go. Reform-wise, recidivity rate have gone down from what the stats. I went down on Correctional Canada website. They seem to have gone down a little bit. So let's hope for the best is what I'm thinking. And when we come back to Ottawa, I'll bring it back to our wonderful people here, and I hope to hear their opinions.
All right, thank you. So I'm gonna take over. Oh, that's Warren right there, looking like Danny Toretto, the Black version. Thanks, Arnold. Thanks, Tamari. Arnold, I hear you speak, and I appreciate what you're saying. And this is a barbershop talk, right?
Yeah.
This is a barbershop talk, right? Yeah. So some disagreement is gonna probably happen. Well, let's let it happen then. Here we go. I've had the luxury, or let me say I'll say why I say luxury in a moment. I'm gonna parking lot that, but I'm humbled to live in Toronto. I'm humbled to be living in Ottawa. Humbled to now visit and be a part of the Winnipeg community. But one thing that I've come to know when it comes to Black men in how we're viewed is that we are villainized first and asked questions last, right? It takes nothing away from what Arnold mentioned, but I remember this situation happening in Ottawa. I was doing some research with a local community group and met this amazing brother. He was at the time 19 years old. He had just gotten out of jail. And he was looking for a job in a youth employment training program. All right. And he I was very humbled to get the interview with him for my research. And we adapt, we made up a handshake. It was just like, you know what I mean? Like something like that, right? It was something like that. It was quick, you know what I mean? And within 10 minutes after he left, he came back with 2 police officers on either side, and it was Ottawa Police Services, OPS. That was 2 years ago, right before the pandemic. He said that with the police officer, they said that he went to the washroom, to use the washroom, and someone complained that there was a noise coming from the washroom. Security guards went in there, they roughed him up apparently, and then handcuffed him and called the police on him. When the police got there, they asked him, what's his name? They did those, ask him name and information, and they found out that he had a curfew. And he was pleading with them saying, I just came from the youth employment training program across the street. You can vouch for me, my counselor's there. And he said, Warren, the PhD student's there. His plea was to validate himself with those who have some type of action or successes that can validate why he was in the area. The police officers walked him across the street handcuffed. You know that? Have you ever been handcuffed, walk across the street? Have you? Have you? So when I hear, Arnold, I have to go here. When I hear Ottawa's better, I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means because I still travel through this world as a Black man and I'm still asked, why are you going to the washroom? I'm sorry. Or better yet, don't use the washroom over there. But I just saw that person use the washroom. So does it have to do with something with our Blackness that's coupled with our masculinity, which brings up this gender bias, which brings up this notion that we're evil, we're no good, and if we experience the prison system or the detention system, that even furthers us from society. So, that being said, Anthony, can we go here? Like, what do you think as a community worker? Living in Winnipeg. Now you just heard Toronto, people from Toronto speak. You heard people from Ottawa speak. Like what's the reality here? What do you think?
Thank you for giving me the chance. So what I think is like we have like those stereotypes towards the Black people. So this is an indisputable thing. And last night I was in an anti-racism youth forum that was conducted in the Center for Cultural Franco Manitoba, and it was an event organized by Indigenous people, and many of us were invited over there, like where young Black people, like who were out there to see and understand what's going on in terms of anti-racism towards Indigenous people. So one thing that really fascinates me is like there was like this live speech by the mayor and also his deputy. So it's good, like the city is acknowledging that there is racism towards the Black people, Indigenous, and other communities. So having said that, like we are lucky to start and kicking from here, because I know like there are other cities and mayors who are denying these issues and this discrimination, the segregations, and also all those kinds of stuff that is going on towards Black people. And also, like I have learned like from my experience that in my work relations that there are like some stereotypes and these big mental cartoons printed out in the minds of the people towards Black people. including myself or people of color. And it gets worse, like, when you add like other elements, like if you are like a Muslim with the hijab, like, on top of that, like, and then probably like, having, some other, traditional wears, or like, some of them, like, some Black people, they have that kind of warrior culture from their, wherever they come. So probably they might have like, some, just traditional instruments with them. So that might really expose them, like, and put them like in conflict with the police and, or with the legal system and all those kinds of stuff. So, but what I understood is like from one of like the presenters that I think like we need to elevate this conversation, which is like a very good entry point to start with, and have this freedom of discussions about relational issues of Black people among ourselves, and then like taking our this to other non-Black community. But like we need to have like the next shows, probably like in my mind, okay, we need to have that big show with other like non-Black communities, so that we need to have something that we can share with the rest of the community, that these stereotypes, these mental controls that are printed out for years are not the way you think. And this is like, the truth, this is the reality, that we need to sell out those things, we need to market out those things. So that's like, one thing that I'm just thinking. But another thing that I observed is like reintegration is, the hardest part, like especially for Black youth.
Here, you're saying here? in Winnipeg?
Yeah, here also, like, but like as a person who is actually worked with like as middle level management, and also like at the grassroots level, like what I observed is like there is like an early interventions in terms of like, some programs like, restorative justice, for instance, which we are running right now. But like this is a program of, healing, reparation, and also reintegration, but it's just, for crimes and cases of, less offense. So if you have like, a bigger offense, then probably you don't have that opportunity and, the supports and all those kinds of things. So you might probably have a tough time, and you might be like, probably struggling with the prospects. So that's like the biggest challenge, and we need like to work on that, and try to bring this to the attention of the policymakers and other who are involved in this process, so that like we can have some very designed, well integrated reintegration services for Black people what come out of the custody. But like for the earliest interventions, like I can say like there are different programs running in the city, as far as I know, though they are not that enough. But we can say like we have some programs, especially for minor offenses. Like, and I just want to bring this to the attention so the audience. So if they come across with those kinds of things, we have a quick diversion program, so they can bring those Black people, and we give a very tailored culture with cultural understanding and traditional teachings. And sometimes like you might have a special interest, like as a Black man of like different religions, so maybe like spiritual counseling could be like one of your healing. So we're going to give you that service. Like for instance, if you are a Muslim, and there is no imam going to the church, maybe to the prison, and they give you this kinds of service, yeah. But like I got that opportunity, like to visit one of the correctional centers, at the Headingley here in Manitoba, but that's like for the women, and there were like some job fairs and all those kinds of things were happening out there. So I thought like that's a big thing, because those people that are locked up there, they don't know what's going on outside, and even if like they are like almost done with their present things, and then they're going to start a new life, they don't know where to go, where to start, and what resources are out there for them. So we need to think of all these kinds of stuffs in our conversations, and then the more we talk about this and then we refine it, moving on, like we can come up with some programs, services, or policy intervention that we need to bring to the lawmakers or wherever. Like, so this is something. And finally, I just want to say like this is a relational thing, just like gender, it's a power relation, and you can solve it like only with having discussions among the Black people. So that's one of the points I just want to make. So we need to take out this discussion and have it like in a big forum or workshops or something like that, where other people like also have their view and the reflections, so that like we have like a mutual understanding. So with that forum that I attended last night, I know that like, oh, okay, so there are like some other people I need to connect and who are experiencing the same problem I'm experiencing here. So that anti-racism is not only like because of my color, but it might have also like another extension. So we need like to just bring those culture, history, and other relational things with other people, and we can create a common ground that we can carry on and then implement something new. So yeah, I don't want to take much of the time, but that's what I.
Thank you, appreciate it. That's why like, no, people didn't clap for me, so you know. All right, so one of the things I took from you, Anthony, you're talking about reintegration starting from the like inside.
Exactly.
As well, like we talked about, religion. I think that's an important piece that has to be acknowledged, that there's different intersections or intersect or different characteristics, or
sure.
just different. That's the word I want to use. That's more friendly. This is the intersects of people that we need to be paying attention to.
Exactly.
Because if we're really thinking about true reintegration, we also have to think about how to start that reintegration inside. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. That's one of the points.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm gonna give you a fist bump. You don't want to give me a clap. Thank you. Thank you. I seek attention. Wilfred, Sam King. I had the pleasure of breaking bread with you a couple weeks ago. I appreciate you. We had an amazing conversation that I wish to extend further in the near future. You're doing wonderful things, my brother.
Appreciate that.
You're doing a lot in the community with these young people, my brother. All right. But when I hear when you speak about young people in the community, right? What challenges are you seeing? What challenges are you faced with? What type of mentorship are you providing these young people when it comes to keeping them away from a lifestyle that can lead them down to jails and prisons and detention centers, right? Or what are you experiencing with young people, young Black men, particularly, right, who have faced that reality? Can you respond to that?
Yeah. Thank you, Warren. I'm thankful that I'm getting all this information and I get to talk closer to the end. When I think about my upbringing, I had a very loving mom who instilled a lot of confidence in me, but also prepared me for the world in a very explicit way. One of them was, don't get locked up for messing around with a white girl, especially as an athlete. And the higher levels I got in competing, and then when I turned professional, you hear more about your friends. And consent was always number one for me. I still have my receipts from MSN Messenger, BBM, all these different things, any relationship that I had. And I used to think that was normal. And you talk to your other Black friends or Black athletes and they say the same thing. Yeah, you make sure. If you are dealing with any girl, you make sure you have your receipts or whatever. And in kind of reconstructing that to the younger kids that may not have a mother that is preparing them or parents that are available because they're working 1 or 2 or 3 jobs, you start to see, back to that funnel conversation, all these holes or potholes or all these situations where these kids fall through the cracks. So within our mentorship program, we always start with confidence, because start with being able to say your name proudly, because more often than not, if you know who you are, you can't be led astray into these other paths. And once they have that confidence, you just start building good behaviors, good habits. And in doing that, I know I'm still growing, I'm still learning. I learned a lot over the past, 20 minutes here. And this is what I'm going to take back to them, because more often than not, our parents are like, oh, well, that person did a bad thing. You look at the output, not the story, not the history of how some of our Black brothers ended up where they are.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's harms that weren't dealt with, it's mental illness, it's all these different situations and these intersectionalities that we've all spoken about. And then when we see the entire picture, when we see the entire storyline, we start to say, oh my, they didn't have a fighting chance. So what we try to do is at the grassroots, if we can help them one day at a time, because I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, you know, we got the magic wand. We'll prevent every bad thing from happening. We'll prevent them from gang life, drug life, or whatever. But the fact that I got to see when I was younger, in grade 3, one of my best friends was a drug dealer. And I didn't even know until you use your lens of today, whereby he tells me, oh, I just drop off a bag and my uncles give me a new pair of shoes. And you reconstruct that, you say, oh snap, okay. And they say, if you see police, run away. And you're thinking, oh yeah, he's just dropping off package. But what he's really doing is moving weight. And from a naive child lens, if that's when their first taste of that lifestyle is, once again, how do they have a fighting chance? So I'm definitely more on the preventative side or prevention side. And that's what I hope to ensure that as many people or as many youth as I have conversations and interactions with, they get a little bit more of a fighting chance.
All right, cool. Thank you, appreciate it. No, I appreciate what you say. I'm gonna connect it with Shem. All right, I'm gonna connect with you. Can I put you on the spot? You gotta ask. If you don't ask, yeah, you already said his name. He knows it's coming. Very right. So I'm gonna let the truth be told, folks. All right.
Barbershop don't operate this way.
Warren,
Yeah.
hey, Warren. Hey,
You don't want me to talk?
no, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Toronto men's are saying barbershops need to fight with each other or talk a bit more. We're letting you guys.
No, we're getting, who's that? Put the camera on that person. Sorry, Jim. Put the camera on that person right quick. Put the camera on that person. Who said that?
Who said that?
Yeah.
Louis.
Louis, we're getting there. We got one more. We're getting there. We're getting in the ring in a moment. Coming. I promise you. It's getting there.
I'm trying to be patient, you know?
All right. All right, Joe, we're on the time here. All right, as you can see.
Okay.
But,
I'm gonna stick with the program, but the barbershop I go to, I'm telling you.
we're getting there. I promise you, we're getting there. We're getting there.
All
right.
Okay.
So, when I met Shem at the cafe, you know, I remember you were sitting there, doing your homework or studying with people, and I think. Can you mute them for a sec? Can you mute them for a sec?
The Toronto man, them.
They're rowdy. They're ready. Eh? Folks, you better have my back because they're ready, eh? I'm serious. They have my back. They're ready. But anyway, I remember you were studying, and I have this thing for, let the truth be told, for young people. When I see a young person interested, I try to bring them. I'm like, I got one. All right, I got one. I'm gonna show you everything that's in here. All right, there's no escaping. And I appreciate you showing because you showed confidence. I'm hearing Wilfred mention confidence, and when he said it, I thought of you. You know what I mean? Because it was only weeks after.
Well, look at his drip.
Yeah. All right. But one of the things. Oh, thank you. One of the things that you did. You sent me an email shortly after. I appreciate you for that. And then when we talked about being here, you felt the need to not only be in the space, but you wanted to sit on the chair and talk. So talk the truth.
Listen, I got so many thoughts right now. Like hearing all this, knowledge and information is like really brought like a whole new perspective, right? And like, I'm gonna start with a little story, right? this is like a year ago. I was going home from my I was just going home, right? It's like what 9 in the morning, whatever. And I got pulled over by a cop. And
Is that here, Winnipeg?
this is Winnipeg. Yeah, this is Winnipeg. I just back then I had waves, not twists. So I had my durag on, laid down. I remember the first thing that came to my mind wasn't God don't let me get a ticket. It was God let me survive this. And I literally took my durag off, put my hands on the wheel, try to look as harmless as possible. And literally, I was sitting there waiting for the car. See, my friends have gone pulled over a lot of times. I've been in the car. That's my day ever happened. The car walked onto me to the car with his hand on the gun. Right? Walk. I'm just like smile as best as you can, you know, like look as harmless as possible, you know, just like, and you know, it's a which lesson, like, and that whole like just tension of that moment, like just really like made a little imprint on my life. Like for that moment, it's like because that whole stigma that see, I mean, you could say, okay, was that one bad cop that you know, just all that, but let's be honest. Like I don't know if any of you been pulled over by cops. It's never. I don't think it's been a good experience. Like most black people. All my black friends be talking about it is like when you pull over by cops, look as harmless as possible. Turn the music down, sit up straight, hands in the wheel. There's a whole rule. And when a white person gets pulled over by the cops, I mean, you guys understand what I'm saying, right?
I don't like girls for sure.
You know what I'm saying? And that little situation, I feel like can be connected to so many things in life. Because listen, being black, it's hard enough getting hired. It's hard enough getting a job. It's hard enough getting buying life. My mom used to tell me every time, if your friend gets an A, you get an A plus because you're black. Because you need that to get ahead in life. Now think about being black and being out of jail. Now imagine how hard that is. So it's like, while there's, you know, you can try to prevent it. There's the pre-prison and there's the post-prison. The pre-prison, okay, includes, I believe, starts from the community. There's a lot of people in the world, billions of people. You can't change everybody's mind. But what we can do is change ourselves in our community. We can't change ourselves like that, but we can try and implement like little programs in the community that can try, you know, to reach the youth. Because I feel like it's the youth that matters. You can't go and change a 40-year-old man, but you can change a 15-year-old boy or 15-year-old girl. Because we're trapped in this cycle in our communities, you know? How are you, like someone made a good point, how are you supposed to succeed when everyone in your neighborhood is trapping or pushing something? And I feel like that is a big place to start, because I feel like we try to like connect with our interest in the community, because kids love basketball, kids love soccer, kids love sports, little stuff. It's little stuff like that. We don't have to make it like a group, okay, come here, don't be a bad boy, come study your books, that. It's little things like, okay, this little basketball group, try and get them out of that system by, you don't have to tell them, oh, we don't want you to push, we don't do this, but try and just get them out. Come play basketball, let's just talk, it's little things like that, I feel plays a big role. And personally, the idea of, okay, jury by your peers or that, I don't think there will ever be like the effect that it's supposed to have, you know, the justice, like, you know, if you know, judged by the jury of your peers, yada, yada, you know, you get a free trial, a fair trial, whatever. I don't think that will ever happen until the stigma that is seen upon Black people, until that is erased. Because if you're in trial, when a white kid kills a couple guys, you see, yeah, so the news today, the kid that got like shot 2 people, and in the set, if a white kid does that, it's oh, he has a mental issue. If a Black kid does that, he's an animal. Lock him in jail. Is a bad kid. He's gonna do it again. That whole stigma based around we can't change like the system until we change until view like on us is changed. And I feel like, you know, and that is a big thing, because like I said, there's so many people in the world. You can't change everybody's minds, right? And that's the pre part. Now the post part. Like I said, being a Black person, getting jobs, living life is hard enough. Now think about coming out of jail. It's almost impossible for a Black man out of jail to get a job. But it's almost impossible for Black men from the community to not go into jail. It's a cycle, it's a vicious cycle. And I feel like while there is the free, there's also the post. Like maybe reintegrate, like someone said 30 days before you release from jail, whatever, there's a reintegration process. That's like, you can't really understand what it's like to be Black unless you're Black. You know what I'm saying? You guys understand what I'm saying? Like, if a white person is like, in charge, or what any non-black person is in charge, like of telling you how to live as a black person, it doesn't really like, you don't really get it. For example, I don't talk to other people about my life issues. But like I said, in the barbershop, like I be telling my barbers things I didn't even know I had issues with. And we talking about like stuff I didn't know I had a problem with. And it's just that sense of familiarity is what we need to bring into that, that whole project. And I feel like, man, I have so much feelings, so much emotions, pain, anger, all this stuff. And man, God help us.
So I appreciate it, brother. I'm glad I know you. And let's say I'm one 40-year-old that you're changing mentally. So I appreciate you. I'm the outlier. All right, Louis, you ready? Put Louis up on that screen, man. You ready to fight? You ready? No, I'm not gonna fight. I'm joking. I'm just joking. Brandon, you ready? Audience, are you ready? Is anybody gonna say what was that? Oh. Okay, audience, this is where we're gonna get into a barbershop talk, all right? Now, if you have any questions or comments that you would like to pose, you will have 2 minutes. 2 minutes maximum to pose that question or state that statement that you want to add value to the conversation. Now, I'm letting you know right now, some people are ready and willing to get at you, all right? And I'm just letting you know right here.
So, Warren, I just wanted to say something here for a moment here, man. I just, because I know we're limited on time, but I think one of the things I wanted to sort of bring up is just the fact, I think we're kind of skating around it, like leading up to the session, I was asking Elder Louis about anger. He was like, yo, I'm angry. And, even Brother Nia is like tearing down systems, and I think there's anger. And now we can talk about healing, but I think the reality is that we're talking about there's a dehumanizing of Black folks, of Black men. You know what I'm saying? And we have to like talk about that. So
I agree.
As parents, I heard a brother, in the chair talking about, moms telling him this, and as a Black father and of 3 Black sons, we try to tell our children to do this and be better. But we try to prep our children, but we know that they are being dehumanized. You understand what I'm saying? And we saw a few months ago, maybe last year actually, we saw a bunch of white people take over the Capitol. We saw white police and Black police officers running. You know what I'm saying? If that was Black folks, if that was Black folks, that would be a total different situation. That would be a mass burial.
So Brandon, can I so is it fair to say that you're starting this up? You're starting this off. That's what you're doing. Brandon, go there. This is it. Go there.
This is we're talking about black men in prisons. That's the piece. You understand what I'm saying? Black men, we see Andrew Loku got choked out to death for a cigarette, selling a cigarette. So, you know what I'm saying? So for me, as a Black man in a big body, yeah, I'm angry. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, we can talk about healing and we have to talk about the healing, but that's the reality of it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna pause right there. You know what I'm saying? Like we can skate around it and talk about it, but that's what, like, Black men are going into prison at disproportionate rates because of that. You know what I'm saying? Black men are dying at disproportionate rates because of that. I'm gonna pause.
So right there. So hold on. I hear people. Hold on a second. So Brandon just set the tone. All right. So now I'm gonna referee this thing here. All right. So we got 2 minutes now. So I'm seeing something in the comment. But I want to kick it to Toronto first. Toronto. Louis, you ready?
Wait, hold on.
Let Louis go. Let him go. Go, Louis. Take him off mute. Let him talk. Talk the ting, Louis.
I just want to respond.
Louis, hold on, Arnold. Louis, let Louis go. Louis was itching. Go, Louis, go.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm gonna keep it to 180 seconds, right? Anyway, so I want people to clearly understand this. I spoke to you guys about the funnel. The system is set up to scoop up young Black men throw them into the funnel, throw them into the system. Now we're going to talk about reintegration. Okay, I'm going to position it another way. Look, when you get arrested and you get sent to jail, the intent is to strip you of your freedoms. Strip you of your freedoms, but they also strip you of your dignity and your identity while you're incarcerated. And then when you come out, they tell you to do the right thing. But for every year that a Black man is incarcerated and he is released, how many years does it take for him to catch up, to restore his dignity, restore his identity, restore his confidence, his connections, his family, his friend? Everything has changed. For every 1 year that you spend inside, it maybe take 5 years for you to catch back up. Think about it. It's a disadvantage. So it's perpetual jail that that person will be in. And as a Black man, it is punishment plus perpetuality, right? So we can set up these programs, right? That is funded by who? The system that sets it up to work this way. And then we're expecting people to come out feeling good. A young man, 15 years old, said to me, he fears living more than he fears dying. Think about it. He's still in diapers. So I said, you're still in diapers, you know nothing about living. He said, what the fuck you talking about? Do you know what I have to go through on a daily basis to survive? Think about it. They've given up on life because the system has done what they were designed to do, is destroy your dignity, destroy our identity, and punish us along the way. In America, sorry, I got 50 more seconds. In America, there's something called 3 strikes and you're out in California. You commit 3 felonies, and the third one, they lock you up and they throw the key away. In Toronto and in Canada, for the first time, I'm going to say this publicly, it's 1 strike and you're out. 1 strike and you get that charge. Remember I told you about the funnel. You get that charge, right? You end up in the justice system, you end up in the jail system, and you come out and you said, I've done my crime, I've done my time. There's no end, it continues. Whether it's jobs, whether it's housing, whether it's trauma, whether it's mental health, whether it's your friends, family, everything has moved on and you have to catch up. And who's there to help you? So that this discussion must be, how do we put these kids back into the fast lane so they can catch up and continue with their life in a meaningful way?
All right, Louis, all right, thank you. So Arnold, I see your hand, you've been waiting, and then we'll go back to Troy. I think there's something, I think Mia, you wanted to say something. Arnold, go ahead.
So real quick, first thing, I have been part of the police. So in Ottawa, I'm not sure about Toronto. In Ottawa, we have the police oversight that started 6 years ago, I want to say right now. And so basically it's an independent committee essentially that oversees certain cases. And that happened right before the Abdi Rahman case. And then it obviously got escalated. I do want to reinforce that having lived in the States, in Ottawa, depending on what crime you committed, despite the fact that you may have done some time in, you do still have the opportunity. I have worked personally with people that have been, they've done time. They've done 2 to 5 years. I worked with one guy who ended up as a manager. Yeah, he wasn't my direct manager, but he ended up as a manager with the government. Like it's only your employer that needs to go ahead and know whether or not you've done time. So obviously the conversation needs to go ahead and go around, how do we deal with people when they're coming out and how do we reintegrate them into the community? But I do want to go ahead and underline the fact that at least in Ottawa, we push through and ensure that these individuals come out and they have the opportunity, well, in jail, they have the opportunity to learn a trade And right now you can learn anything from coding, to all other different trades. And you come out and you can go ahead and get a job. And so that's one thing I wanted to highlight. I do have a gentleman that I feel, are you ready for your comment? No. Okay, but I did want to go ahead and highlight that. So I want to create, if I can end with it, I want to create just I'm equally angry, but one of the things for me that I do is that I am part of the people that hold the we call it OPS, the Ottawa Police force here. I hold them accountable and I say, hey, this is your review. We don't agree with that. And I go on their Facebook group and so we have to, the conversation needs to rotate around that as well, because we have to be part of the conversation. So that's one of the things I wanted to mention.
Did you have someone in the shop that you wanted to say something? Did we hear that? Was there someone there, Arnold, that wanted to say something?
I do believe, are you ready?
We're good now. All right, so we have 2 minutes. All right, 2 minutes. And I want to go back to what Brandon mentioned. 2 minutes, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll go back. I just wanted to mention that. I just didn't want us to come across as just an angry Black people narrative. I wanted us to.
Well, you know what? I'm just gonna go and say this, right?
But what's wrong with being like? I mean, the reality of if we're getting murdered, we just saw this guy got, not guilty for killing another Black folk. So like this Bible's like, skating around not being angry. I'm not really with it, and I don't know, man. This is just my take, bro. But I'm taking up space.
Brandon, I'm gonna
brothers. I think there's something. Hold on.
This is a real barbershop talk going on here. Hold on, Nia, go ahead.
I think there's something going on regionally, right? In Toronto, we're feeling the pressure a lot heavier than outside of Toronto. And it's no disrespect to any other region, because we've all gone through this. When I was younger, I could identify with Ottawa and Winnipeg because things weren't at the level they are now. But now man's is shooting each other, 3 deaths a day, 8 deaths a week. People can't walk across the street and getting jacked. Like it's much different here, but it's same for us as Black men everywhere. So even in Ottawa, you can have one person who's gonna come up on you and do something to you, which causes this problem. So that's one aspect. The other aspect I want to touch on is that we find Black men in jail, not because they are criminals or more criminal than other people. It's because we're targeted. And it's because lawyers don't want to fight their cases. Judges don't look at them as equal or have any type of morality. And the police target them because they're the low-hanging fruit. And we as Black men have to start understanding all of our collective plights. Because right now, we're over here kind of boiling. Because what you guys are mentioning is it's all good and it's correct and it's helpful. But we're talking about men who are in prison who, when they get out, how are we going to prevent them from continuing the cycle of violence and the cycle of incarceration? Because I can tell you, I'm coming off a 5-week jury trial where I have 2 Black men in their 30s who are going away for a long time because the jury convicted them when there's a white girl on the stand who lied to them about their age and who lied to the cops about what happened, who traveled with them to another place and did whatever she did with them, told 3 different stories on the stand. 3 different lawyers pointed out all of her imperfections and her lies, and the jury still convicts these 2 brothers, right? These are the things we're dealing with. I'm dealing with a man who was shot 4 times by police, 1 in the back of the head because they wanted to arrest him for a breach of probation, a breach of house arrest. I'm dealing with a guy who was set up by guards to get beat up in jail. And the only reason why he wasn't beat up was because his cellmate was his girlfriend's nephew, right? These are the things that are happening. And no matter where we are in the country, we have to start being real. We have to start being militant. You cannot allow your brethren to go off and do dumb stuff. Oh, I'm going to grab a girl, I'm going to sell her. You know human trafficking, how much is happening right now? You know, Ford just announced $75 million to combat guns and gangs and human trafficking. You know what? It's off the backs of Blacks. These guys are building political campaigns because the public hates us. And we as Black men in our generation have to wise up. It's only us who's gonna take these youth and fix them, right? As much as we say 40 years old, you can't change. Yes, it's harder, but it's never too late for anybody to change. But we are the reason why this is perpetuating. Every rapper out there talking their dumb crap about, I got this and I got this car and I'm slanging yay and I'm gonna dome your boy. Like, what kind of nonsense is that? I grew up on high intelligent people talking about metaphors and poetry and KRS-One public enemy, things that stimulated my mind. We have a responsibility to stimulate each other's mind and stimulate the youth's mind. And there's no more patience for talk that's not gonna go anywhere. And this is kind of why we're pulling over here, because we feel this every second, every day. The pressure is on us. You see, me as a Black lawyer, you know how much I'm despised by Crown attorneys and judges? Because they know when I come and talk to them, I ain't playing around. I'm telling them exactly how it is. I'll look them in the eye. They can say whatever they want about me, but I'm not backing down. And every one of us either have to have that mentality or idea or play your part in the way you know, but be conscious.
And don't back down.
You're absolutely right. And I want to just jump in real quick. Yeah, not to cut you off, but there's a lot. Man, Brandon, you sparked something. So we gotta follow this wave. I'm gonna stay on this topic of angry. You know, I think I'm gonna couple that with, you know, ignorance and willfully ignorance. I'm coupling that, right? Because a lot of our anger comes with of some ignorance, you know. But there was, I saw Rowan. I don't know you, Rowan. Thank you for mentioning what you mentioned about the education system. I only got a glimpse because it's on the screen. But no one talked about the education system. No one talked about the education system as being a site of starting this villainization of Black men.
We did.
We did? Or maybe, you did over there? And maybe, sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay.
But Warren, can we focus on what are the ways to keep brothers out of jail and how to help them stay out when they come out? Like, that's what I want to hear from my brothers in Winnipeg and Ottawa. I want to hear.
So
I want to hear that.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Let me say something more.
Okay, the chat is blowing up. Okay, Tamari, go, and then we gotta go to chat. Go ahead. Tamari, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, listen. Nia said we need solutions. Louis said we need solutions. Michael says there's trauma. Brandon says we need services, right? What we're talking about is priorities. For every one of my university students, right? There's somebody in a detention center in Ontario where it costs $70,000 to $80,000 for one person per year. At the federal level, each man rotting in a cell right now, that's $180,000. Each woman, that's $220,000. The cops in Toronto, their budget is what, $1 billion? So what we need to understand is that these people are literally being paid to commodify us. We are property. We are the commodities. So when we talk about recidivism, right, and most people are breached because of the some order, right? Who is the easiest target? Someone that's already got a record, someone that's already got some order against them. So what we're talking about is the commodification of Black people. We are commodities. And unless we can make a case that we need to demand that the priorities of government need to be shifted to fund our community organizations, to fund the services that Brandon has to offer, to fund the services that Louis has to offer, Michael has to offer, Nia has to offer, right? We need to understand that that's our money that's being used to criminalize us, to subsidize somebody else's income. Until we get to understand that, all this guns and gang stuff, let's just look at Chris McCormick a couple years ago and all the cops in Toronto that were dealing dope. Let's understand that drugs dealing is protected by the state. They're simply protecting big pharma. They're protecting the white guys now, like Julian Fantino, that's now advising the cannabis industry. Herb Dhaliwal advising the cannabis industry. These are the same people that was putting us in prison for what? Dealing a stick of joint.
They got experience. That's
okay,
why.
okay, so what are we talking about? We're talking about young black men gotta come out and pull themselves up by the bootstraps. Their boots have been taken from them. So let's have the real talk.
All right, so
I don't want to
this
hear
is good
nothing about,
information.
I don't want to hear nothing about, I talked to this kid and parents need to do better. Look, if we go back to the Neptune 4, okay, those kids are just walking down the street. There's no amount of good that our kids can do that will save them. You have a gun.
Okay, we got a flag on the play. Hold up. So this is we got a flag. All right, tomorrow. We got a flag on the play here in Winnipeg. All right, before we do it, there's people behind me just trying to ask a question.
How did he get
Hold
there?
on,
though?
there's questions. There's questions.
I gotta disagree with
Okay,
that.
all right. So let this one go. All right, here you go.
No, her.
No, okay. All right, so we have a question. We have a question. All right, don't forget. All right.
I won't.
So we have
I took
Eve.
back, don't worry.
Even
I took
here.
that one personally.
Hold up.
I'm sorry.
So we have Eve here, who's in the Root Salon Barbershop with us. Shout out to Bull. Shout out to my man here. Abraham, there we go. All right. Eve, what's your question?
Okay, so what I keep hearing is that this is a systemic problem. So somebody from Toronto mentioned that the system is set up against the Black youth. So do we really want to integrate back to the society these individuals who have been deeply traumatized by the very system, and essentially integrate them back to the very society that breeds the social conditions that led them to deviate, to engage in criminal behavior? So to me, it almost seems like
1 second. Whoa.
the
I told the
system.
boys in the house, everyone's coming here. They're not going next door. They're coming here. Appreciate it. Okay? Thank you.
We had just a technical glitch there. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so essentially to me, it seems like
That happened to
the
Winnipeg.
problem is far different. It has to go back to the system, right? So is integration possible? Is it for the benefit of the youth that is being criminalized?
Okay, so the question is it beneficial to integrate youth back in society? Mainstream white settler colonial society. Who wants to take that one? Are you gonna take that one or respond back?
Well, you know,
No.
Okay, here we
Yeah,
go.
our own society. We're not just use our own society.
Sir, go ahead. Go ahead.
Black.
Gotta put him on mute though, please.
All right. I think what we all have to realize is Black men sitting here and not in behind bars is we've had a level of privilege because of whomever was in our lives and our mentors or our parents. So, Doctor, when you say there's nothing that we can say to these kids, how are we here today then? You know, I'm not downgrading all the holes in the funnel that have been spoken about, but I do think the more people or the more Black men that do find success, we will slowly start to defeat or change the system that we are living in. And those youth that are vulnerable, we can start to protect, because once again, how many people in power do we know? We have one lawyer here, and then how many people are in government? How many policymakers are there? How many people that do have the power to actually make decisions? And those are the people that will be coming up in the next few years. I'm hoping to be one of those people that do have power, that can make a change. So when you say there's nothing we can tell the kids, I have seen firsthand having one-on-one conversation with a kid that says, I want to be a gangbanger because working at McDonald's doesn't pay enough. So there is impact in having these one-on-one conversations. Obviously, we can't scale it the same way, but I would have to disagree.
Okay, so there's a disagreement. Okay, all right. Anthony, minute, can you respond to Eve's question in a minute? Can you do that for us? All right, because we just gotta keep this rolling.
Yeah, I think it's like concern. I can understand your concern, and but my thing is, like, to my understanding, like I used to work with younger youth like for a while, and then there are a lot of problems that we have heard experience, and some of the brothers they were saying, like, Winnipeg, they're not, they are not that much on fire, like with respect to this issue. But what I agree is like some of the issues like that, like, overt and they're manifested. So you might see it like pretty much like common in Toronto or like Ontario, but like here there are like, more like, very systematic. And then I got a lot of youth like, who are doing great in school and they're like, top scoring students and but couldn't find any job. So where is that thing is happening? So there are like, some hidden covert types of, systematic racism that is happening. And so probably like this is not like, backing fire, not as Anthony like probably like, performing very well, like an outstanding student, doing, a lot of, stuff like others can do, but like I'm not getting, the opportunity. So we need to question that. Like, so there are like different ways that we can see the heat and the manifestations, but like, just simple stuff that we're seeing is like, probably like I'm driving an exotic car or like, some luxury cars and then probably they're pulled over by a cop. Pretty much common, this ones. But the others, like, there are like a lot of things that we are experiencing. But my question is, okay, so what shall we do? Shall we just leave it like to the system to handle it again? Or shall we step in and then make a difference? So the idea is like, it's better like to light a candle than critique a darkness.
So integration means fighting the system.
So finding possible ways, like from the system, like simple thing, like let me just tell you, like the easiest way, like not the hardest way, but so like in the early stage we can intervene and then change the prospects of the young youth, and there is that possibility. There is this process called, you can call on the stay of proceeding, and then you just let the case interrupted, like, or dropped at certain points. So that's one potential position. But like for the other, other offenses which are like very serious, then there are a lot of services that we can provide them because they will struggle a lot to carry on with their prospects.
Okay, so we're gonna get there. So Tamari, so we had a challenge. So Wilfred, if he comes, this is barbershop talk, bro. Tamari, you ready? You want to respond?
Yeah, I want to respond.
There we go.
Don't misrepresent what I say. The issue is not what we say to our children. Every parent who loves their child will discipline, encourage, give all the best to their children. That's not what I'm talking about. As a professor of sociology and anti-criminologist, the purpose of policing, the purpose of prisons has got nothing to do with what you say to your children, good or bad. The purpose, the very design is for our criminalization. That's its function, that's its objective, right? So let's understand that $150,000 to $200,000 to $200,000 that goes to lock up one person. 75 to 80% of the people in the federal system are there for non-violent offenses. Why are we spending that amount of money? And still, if you look at some of the data provided on the fact sheet, you have men in prison, Black men in prison, that are not getting paid equivalent in terms of the money from CORCAM, or they're not getting access to the services. So what are we paying for? Right? That's what I'm talking about. You've got community organizations like the African Canadian Heritage Association that have been 50 years, they're doing fantastic work. Right, so let's understand that parents are doing the work that they're doing. Community organizations are doing the work that they're doing. Let's understand that we are commodities. And that's what we need to focus on, because it's a question of priorities.
All right. So, Wilfred, if you want to respond, you want to think that through. Or Ottawa. I know we had someone in Ottawa. Arnold. Okay, you're not paying attention, moving on. You missed it, bro. You missed it.
Yeah, we're here. Yeah, we're here.
All right, we don't have time, man. You have to pay attention, brother. We got a question.
Tamari, thank you for the clarification.
Question?
Out there.
So,
Yeah. We have a comment.
Oh, wait.
Mute everyone, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, so again,
okay.
Can you mute everyone, please? Thank you.
the Corcan is under the guise of giving employability skills for incarcerated people when in reality, we are exploiting these incarcerated people as workers. For instance, recently it was Remembrance Day, and the hobbies the people where I read that prisoners or incarcerated people and disabled people actually make them for $6.70 per copy. So that's just a quick representation of the exploitation of incarcerated people.
Thank you, thank you. All right. So what's going on? Let's go on the chat. So I'm gonna read some. Rohan says, research data in Toronto shows that all things being equal on resume, that white people with criminal charges get callbacks for jobs at a greater rate than black men in university degrees, with university degrees. The same data is found in the USA. When we say we need to talk to youth so they make better choices, we are sort of blaming the victim. The data shows that even when black people do all of the right things, we're still locked out. Question is, what is left for us? Who would like to respond to that?
Tulsa, 100 years ago, Tulsa.
We have to take it in our hands. We can't expect anybody to fix this for us anymore. That's why I went on my diatribe about talking about our responsibilities. We have to go into the communities and tell these guys to stop doing what they're doing. We have to tell the police to stop targeting our kids. We have to tell the government to give us our share of our tax money to fund our resources. We have to build our business. We as parents have to make sure our kids get educated so they don't have to go through the same thing that ignorance breeds. The only reason why I've never been arrested in handcuffs is because I can speak. Every time a cop came to my car, I'm like, officer, why are you stopping me? You know, this is inappropriate. If you keep doing this, something bad's gonna happen one day. I can say that because I know how to say it, right? And if our kids know how to speak, they're gonna get further ahead in life. I had a client, young girl, I met her at 14. She was helping with my campaign, and then she got a string of thefts and all these thefts and stupid things. To the point I said, when you're 18, this has to stop. I cleared her whole record. She had no criminal record. Right after 18, more thefts, more breaches, etc. Now she's got caught with firearms in the car because she's with two guys in the car. She's in jail now, right? She's on the phone. I call her surety. I said, leave a message for your surety. She says, hi. She couldn't say a word after that. I said, listen, young lady. I said, when you're on the street, you can yell at your grandmother. You can yell at people. You can rob them. You can do all this, but you can't ask your surety to come to bail for you. We have psychological issues where we can't express ourselves. We can't articulate our thoughts. We have to learn those basic skills. Just speaking to young people and letting them understand that they need to represent themselves better will make a huge difference. And this is really where this is coming to. Like, we cannot wait for anybody anymore to do anything for us. And don't forget COVID, right? What do you think COVID's doing to us? We are the highest percentage of people in this world who are not vaccinated and will not get vaccinated. And we already know they've divided the vaccinated from the unvaccinated. If we don't get our act together now, we're going to be picked off without a blink of an eye. And we're already getting picked off in a fair society. When the society's unfair, we're not going to matter. Oh, they're unvaccinated. They're not talking about color anymore, but we are still black and unvaccinated, so it's going to matter. There's no more playtime. There's no more playtime. Every word out of our mouths right now is recorded and it's going to people, and it could influence a mind in a positive way. That's why I'm here. That's why Louis here. That's why Tamari's here. That's why my brother's here. That's why we're all here. But please, let's get deep into this conversation. I still haven't heard anybody say how they're going to prevent someone from going back to jail.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, you got Anthony say agreeing with you. Can Anthony jump in and say he's agreeing with you? What do you agree with?
So yeah, I totally 100% agree with the idea because the thing is, like, we need to teach the young people, like, because there are like simple ways they got like incarcerated, and probably some of the funny stories I heard is like one guy, like he just got out of school with his friend, and then he started to drove his friend's car, and then the police pulled over and then asked them they started to search the car. So they found like 5,000 Canadian dollars and some other stuffs in the car. So he was supposed to be thrown behind the bar. So the thing is, like, he has no history of Yeah, so no history of, no criminal history or nothing, but the thing is like, he doesn't know much about his friend. And so like his friend was like suspected for drug trafficking, and then like, he was ended up, suspected and put behind the jail because of this thing. So like the system, like he knows pretty much, more than me, but like the system has no ways to, separate and make a difference on this thing. So if you find with the like, some friends which are not like, pro-social, and then probably like that's gonna be your fate at the end of the day. So we can save a lot of people. That's the point. So we need to teach them and we need to enhance their awareness. So that saves a lot of people. Right?
Perfect. So we got two comments here in Winnipeg. Ottawa, I'm not sure if you're ready. Toronto, I'm not sure who's else in the crowd, but we got two comments here in Winnipeg. Brandon, can we let these two people go, these audience members, and then you go?
Cool, brother. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so go ahead. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Francis. I'm first of all from TV. You can see me right now. So just want to say, I feel like all what you're saying is actually has a very good point, but I feel sometimes we can also be our own problem, because like this story I've heard, right? I feel like stories can like make people get attention more. So this story I had is like a friend of mine, like there were like 3 of them, a group of them. So they're trying to rip me of some money, and they try to like do in a way saying that they're going to call the police on me and like try to frighten me, because like proving tough to them. But they try to like use the police as a weapon to like deceive me and say that I put a statement to the police, I should be scared or something of that sort. So I was like, I kept my ground, like went to the police and tried to find out what was going on. I found out there was no statement on my name, and they're just trying to like weaponize that against me and try to like put shit on my head, which wasn't true or something like that. So I'm not trying to say like sometimes Black people themselves can be a problem to themselves.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for being part of my friend. Yeah. Thank you. We have one more come right here, and then to Brandon, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bolt. I have 3 points that I would like to point out that everybody has mentioned, including the lawyer, as well as you earlier, and also the stat that you pull up about employment specifically. I try my best to keep the information. Sometimes I forget. But anyways, you had mentioned the fact that we don't have the confidence as youth. I don't consider myself a youth at this point, but in terms of younger generation, even me when I was younger, I don't think I had confidence to be able to build self-awareness and actually like know exactly what's going on and be able to reject certain situations that may land me. It is a skill set that you have to learn. You have to learn very hard in order to actually integrate that to your life. So I agree with that. Not a lot of people have that kind of ability to process that, especially if you don't have any mentor to guide you through. As well, you had mentioned about how it's I'm sorry, Shimmy, yeah, about how it's extra hard for us to actually like to be able to overcome certain things. And also from employment side of things, my background is human resource. I went to school business, and I work in a nonprofit which had like over 800 employees. I will not mention the name of the organization, but I was the only Black person out of 35 employees in the head office. Now the 80% or 90% of the employees were support workers, and everybody else was in a management position. So I did a lot of stuff like from recruiting to selection to interviews to all the different channels in order to hire somebody. So I overseen those systematic problems and issues, because I even tested myself, and I put myself in a situation where I would purposely, and I would select say 5 positions and say there's a position of a management, and I would look at all these different names of people, and I would purposely select say like 4 out of 5 candidates for that higher position. And out of those 5, 4 of them, let's just say those were Black people. Out of those 5, most of them were John Smith, right? one of them out of 5 was John Smith, and they were able to be selected through the process at the end of the day for the higher position. And I just saw that over and over again. And when I saw that was an issue, I brought it up to the person who was actually making those final decisions, right? And I said, what's going on? And it's like, don't you see, these people have accent or they might not know how to properly. So it's, you know what I mean? And it got to the point where like it was creating an issue between me and my boss at that time, right? And so I see those things and I didn't have the confidence or I didn't have my own ability or power to be able to like reject that kind of the discrimination that was happening. So yeah, I mean, you know what? A lot of people are not in a position to do so. It's very hard, but at the end of the day, we can't beat ourselves. We can't say system this, system that. It comes with our own, you see an issue, actually try your best to do it. There's resources out there, there's a lot of different ways that we can improve our life. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of mentors of our own people in this city. I know a handful of them. I've been in this city for about 20 years. And it's really good to see that there's actually like a lot of advocates, there's a lot of programs, there's a lot of programs that such as this, right, where we can have interaction and conversation and actually try to educate ourselves and taking ownership of our own instead of like, oh, system this, system that, because we can do this. This is nothing new. It's been going on, and we're not the only minorities. Like Indigenous, for instance, right? They get it worse. You guys understand? So the system it's just built against, and at the end of the day, you can't always just say, oh, system this, system that. Just go ahead and do it. Try your best. Educate yourself, So that's my only comment, and 3 comments, and that's
Brandon, we got, I give you 2 minutes there because we have 10 minutes left in this whole program. Go ahead.
So I just want to say our jobs in academia won't save us. Having a Black police chief won't save us. Writing on Twitter or social media won't save us. Yes, I'm angry. And I use that anger to motivate and to do the work that I do unapologetically. The brother Rohan is dropping bars in the chat tonight. And I think we have to be intentional about the creating programs that focus on Black folks. You know what I'm saying? And because we are being disproportionately damaged and killed in society. So there's no skating around it. We have to just do it. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to pause on that. So I'm realizing I'm getting grounded and this is the piece where it's like, I'm community first. You know what I'm saying? And I know that we have to go in and I appreciate the brother saying that we the policies piece, and yes, that's how the changes make happen. But we can't be focusing and saying that, we have to be better. That's the narrative that we've been hearing, and we're still getting killed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm realizing I am triggered in this conversation, and it's like, we have to take this idea of like, we have a police chief or ex-police chief that's in government that put away a bunch of Black people for selling weed. Now he has stocks in a cannabis company, and he's making profits from it. So we have to kind of critical think. We have to critical think. We have Black men and Black women and Indigenous folks in prison still serving time because of selling weed or that gateway drug of getting inside prisons. You understand what I'm saying? And because you're Black, it's an excuse. So let's not get it twisted, folks. And the conversation where we're talking about today is, why are we having Black people in prisons at disproportionate rates? And it's not because our parents didn't do the whatever, it's because of our skin color. And our skin color tell people that say, it's okay for us to kill us, it's okay to lock us up, and it's okay. So let's be honest about it. You understand what I'm saying? Let's be very honest about it.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate you. All right, so Ottawa, we got to kick it to Ottawa. Arnold, you guys ready over there? Because I'm trying to get y'all attention. You guys, I don't think Ottawa wants to participate, folks. This is what is going on? You got hands in your pocket? You guys like, what do you guys just in the back of the barbershop just chilling, just listening?
Yeah, just.
All right, well, you don't want to talk? No problem.
What up, what up, what up? Ottawa here.
You have something to say or?
Ottawa is having its own Black barbershop conversation. And
Go ahead,
actually
I'm waiting to you, go ahead.
it's actually, I'm actually going to stop talking. I'm going to pass it on to the first person that's going to go ahead and speak. So by all means, brother.
Got 2 minutes, my friend.
It's interesting because we're having a lot of different perspective. We have a brother here that kind of mentioned, you know, at first how I think he finds this whole talk to be kind of useless. You know,
One day.
maybe not. Maybe useless. Kind of like, you know, it feels like we're just talking and nothing's gonna change, and we've kind of come as far as we're gonna go. So we're having an interesting topic here. We'd love to hear some of your thoughts. So,
Yeah, we have one more.
I'm a little confused at the useless comment. I just want to address that. What is that?
So the idea is we have one individual who shall remain unnamed, who believes that these conversations, these dialects that we tend to have amongst Black people within the Black community doesn't necessarily translate into tangible, if we can say, results, right? So we have these conversations, we take the time, but where does it go from here? Because we're still getting arrested.
I got you. I got to respond.
Blah, blah, blah. So
I got to respond. I don't even need to see homeboy. Thank you, homeboy. Appreciate you.
Exactly. I'll go. Hold on. Before you leave us, I'll go ahead and turn.
I'm not leaving you. I'm not leaving you. No. Don't. I'm not leaving you. No, I'm not leaving you.
Okay.
You know, the one thing that, you know, this platform is working towards is encouraging people. And I'm going to use the word of Nia, is it's time to do something, right? If you're sitting there and you're thinking through this program is a waste of time, you're in the wrong spot. That's what you're doing. You're wasting your time. You're not wasting my time, right? And I think it's important that if you're thinking through this moment to actually do something, then you can take this message when you meet somebody out in the street who can use this message and add value to their life. You just did something. Doing something doesn't mean that you have to organize a big rally of people. Doing something means you talking to one person and you gather knowledge.
Absolutely.
My colleague and I have been talking all week. Just him and I, just talking. I'm not gonna put it on camera. I'm not gonna let him know that's the story, but right. We've been talking all week. And the amount of knowledge that he's dropped on me, I've gone home and reflected, and I said, man, yo, that was deep. That was deep.
In the words of
the problem is, hold on a second. The problem is, people want it's like you want the shiny car, but you don't want to work for it. You don't work for it. You don't want to talk to your brother on the street who you don't know and say, hey, how you doing, man? How was your day? You don't want to do that. You don't want to take advice from your elder and say, you know what, Brother Louis, thank you, man. I appreciate you, man. No, you don't want to do all that stuff. What you want to do is you want to see the transformative action that's built by white supremacy and saying, there's change. That ain't change. Change is actually showing up. Change is actually taking a moment and actually actively listening, not hearing, not listening, actively listening and say, hey, I didn't understand what you said. Can you say it one more time so I can understand that clearly for myself, so I can actually make a change in my head possibly, and being vulnerable. But you're sitting here and telling me this is useless, and you think you're gonna pay your J's? What's your name? You're gonna get no You're gonna get no J's.
So keep it that agenda to give me one more.
We've got 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I got a question. Can I introduce your
hold on. Warren, Ottawa is still here.
Who?
Ottawa is still here. Go ahead. Speak, brother.
Oh yeah, one more. Okay, we're almost done in 3 minutes, by the way. Like we went over time. Like you gotta be quick. You got 30 seconds. Go. I think the main problem starts with like economics and guidance.
Can't hear you.
I think the main problem starts with economics and guidance, you know? The reason why black people are getting incarcerated like this is because they're out here trying to take risks to make short-term money because of lack of guidance and no long-term thinking, right?
I agree.
So if we're all out here trying to make short-term money, we're all 18, trying to take risks to get ahead, and there's no father figures to lead these people, they're gonna do whatever it takes to get that money. But if you have somebody at home to tell you right from wrong and morals and teach you long-term thinking and stuff like that, you're gonna make good decisions which aren't gonna lead you in jail. Like I have friends who don't have fathers who ended up selling coke, going to jail, having beef, and now they have to keep guns on them. But me, I had a father, so I didn't make those decisions, even though I might have played basketball with these people every day, right? But since I had somebody at home to tell me right from wrong whenever I messed up and actually listen to me and have conversations, I had time to reflect on my decisions, so I didn't make decisions that caused me to go down that path. So if I wanted to make money, I learned to work, you know? But my friends wanted to make money, they wanted to go steal.
Warren, exactly. This guy is right. At the end of the day, brother, it's the system. You know, you didn't even touch the system. Because if you have a system that's been put in place and you have parents working 2 or 3 jobs, you know, what time are they left with to talk to their kids? What's left for the kids they look up to the media, the rappers? What do they see? Jewelry, shiny cars. What do I want to be when I grow big? A rapper. What do I want to do? Sell drugs. I look in the hood. Who drives the nicest car? The drug dealer. What do I want to be? So all these things need to be taken into consideration. It's not just being black, you know? It's the system at the end of the day.
And like young black people need more opportunities to make money. You know, they think, I don't want to go make minimum wage. I'm gonna go sell these drugs. I'll make more money this way, because they don't think anybody's gonna give them a job, right? But if they had more jobs to get, they wouldn't want to sell drugs. You think they want to go out and do all these things? They don't. But if they see it in their mind as their only option, they're gonna do what they have to do to survive. At the end of the day.
100%. All right. So okay, we're technically we are out of time. Hold on.
One more thing, Warren. You know how many times those kids come to me as a barber and they see my car, they see the BMW, and they say to me, "How did you get this car?" And I said, "Yo, I worked as a barber. I put in hours." They said, "No. You have to be selling drugs. You have to be doing." That's the mentality, brother. And I said, "No." So if they could look up to me as a barber, no, and they have more people like me, then obviously yes. But the people they have to look up to, where are they? I don't know.
So basically, if I can surmise, we have a lot of things to still unpack.
I see a lot of us is popping. All right, so we got 2 quick questions. Comment or question? Real quick. I gotta hold it because you hold it.
Hey, see the point you made right there? That is exactly why we need this talk. Because like we can talk about, okay, well, we don't got role models, we don't got this.
20 seconds.
It's not their fault they don't got fathers. It's not their fault. This is why we need this talk to know that, okay, now we've got to put programs in the community that can help us, like mentorships and all, like you said, we don't have enough but the thing is, we have to market this in a way that is like young people like. Don't just tell people, okay, come to this, come talk. Give it to them the way you like it. Basketball games, little stuff like that, like what they like.
Time up. All right. All right. So we have a teacher here that has a question. Okay, Brandon, you saying something, Brandon? Brandon, are you talking to us, Brandon? You're on mute. Okay. What's your question, quickly?
Well, technically,
Just say it to me, quick.
How do I know my students were coming in traumatized? I'm a white ass woman. What do? I don't know about resources.
All right. So can I say exactly what you said?
Yes.
All right. I just asked him. So my friend to my left said, "quote I'm a white ass woman. How do I teach my kids, like the black students in my class?" Did I get that right?
Yeah.
She said that. I that's what I quoted from her. Can I say that again? Because
Yes.
she said, "I'm a white ass woman. How do I teach my black kids in my class? What can I do?" She's being vulnerable. So thank you. Who would like to respond to that? Nia.
In Africa, along the Nile, start studying who the original pharaohs were and what those paintings look like and where greatness comes from. Because the entire world is built off of African knowledge and civilization, and we forget that. So if you want to start teaching that, right? And what I want to say about the other things, the brothers were saying, sorry, one more thing. Pythagoras' theorem. We learn about mathematics all the time. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We think it's the Greeks that taught everybody that. It's not. The Greeks went to Africa to learn from the Africans. People don't want to talk about it, but that's the reality. And if our kids knew that, they would feel more confident about who they are. One thing. Second thing, my brothers in Ottawa were speaking, drop in science, drop in knowledge. They were speaking the truth. But no matter what we do as Black people, no matter how stable our homes are, or how high we rank in success, we always have to face the racism and discrimination and the targeting that we face because of the color of our skin. So that's why we have to protect each other and teach each other. No other community, they through their language, they protect each other. Through their communities, they protect each other. We lost our language. That's our biggest disadvantage. No other community in this world has lost their language, except for Western Hemisphere diasporic Africans. Then we've lost our culture and our religion. Some of it comes back to us through motion. But the fact that we can't sit on a bus and talk amongst each other means that everybody always knows what we're doing, right? Chinese community, Indian community, Afghan, whatever you want, they develop because of their language commonality, and then their economics stays within that. Our economics doesn't stay. We're buying hair from Koreans. Our women are buying hair from Koreans. All these guys who sell drugs and make all this money have never thought, why don't I open up a Black hair salon? The barbers got it, they're doing it, which is good, right? But we spend our money at McDonald's or somewhere else instead of the West Indian store. I spend my money at West Indian food places, even though I know I might not eat the whole meal because sometimes the food's not good, but I'd rather give my money to my own community every chance I get. Right? It's this type of thinking. But again, back to my lovely lady who wants to teach her kids, she has to remind them, you are more than what you've taught to believe you are. Every representation on the TV, the news, and the movie is not you. You are greatness. No other, tell them, your culture has led everything in pop culture. Baseball hats are because of hip hop. Running shoes, because of hip hop. Every music now has hip hop in it. When they told us in the 80s it would be a fad, they ridiculed us for dancing. They ridiculed us for learning. They said, what is this nonsense? It's not music, but it's the most influential music of all time. Teach them that, but teach them to go back into the 80s, specifically 87 to 89, the golden age of hip hop. Ask them to research that era and write out the lyrics to one of the songs they find. Because what they're gonna find is no swearing, no drug talk, no gun talk. The message is all about uplifting because we were building off of the movement of the 60s and 70s. And teach them that it was the 80s when the CIA brought crack cocaine into the neighborhoods, and they can research that and gave it to them so they can sell drugs and kill each other. It happened in Harlem in the 70s. It happened in LA in the 80s. Crack, you know what, this
guy value. And I just want to say, Nia, I don't want to cut you off because we're really at the end of time, but I do want to acknowledge one thing. This right here, can I say what's your name? Eve, right? Like this right here is an example of showing up and doing your part. Showing up and doing your part doesn't mean talking. Showing up and doing your part means actively listening, taking notes. Eve is taking notes. Everything you were saying, Nia, she was here writing down. You got everything, didn't you? Right? You're on mute, Nia. You're on mute. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave Nia. We can leave your contact for people to reach out.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. You can share my contact with her anytime.
All right, so folks, this happens every barbershop talk. Oh my goodness! Like people are like, we want another one. I keep talking, and it's like I'm tired. Yeah, I'll go home. But you know what, folks? There is gonna be a second one. I promise you that. Ottawa, Toronto, Brandon in Mexico. Appreciate y'all. You called us out. I want to lie. You know,
I just make one plug here. Sorry, I just want to make one plug if possible.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
On that note, on terms of like creating spaces for Black men specifically, I just want to put out there that Sunday dinners takes place the last Sunday of every month. And it's for Black men to have a discussion, and folks can find the information on the Black Daddies Club website. So any Black men in any of the cities, if they're interested in connecting with other Black men to kind of talk about what's going on or what's coming up for them, definitely that's a space open. It doesn't matter if you're queer, if you're straight, or if you're disabled, or if you're mixed. The Sunday dinner is a space for Black men. As long as you identify as a Black man, it's the space is for you. So definitely go on to the Black Daddies Club or go on to Eventbrite and type in the Sunday dinners and register, and it's free. Thank you. And thank you, Warren and Tamari, for facilitating and everyone on the cities and the folks on the chat. Definitely, I learned a lot on the chat tonight, to be honest. I was logged in on the chat. So anyways, back to you, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And yes, thanks for, please check out Black Daddies Club. Brandon's been doing amazing work and continues to, so thank you. I'm gonna give a shout out to everyone, so just one second. Before we do, we got some giveaways to give away tonight. So Adele, can you bring up the lovely Wheel of Fortune, Wheel of Warren? All right, if you're not here, you don't win. That's straight up. You're not here, you don't win. So if you logged off early, that's on you. Spin that wheel, get that going. Who's gonna wear a pair of J's in Toronto? Or maybe Ottawa or Winnipeg? You can't win twice. Two cities can't win twice. I'll tell you that right now. Who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Kato, are you there? Is Kato there? If you don't say nothing, Kato, you ain't getting nothing.
Don't be there, Kato.
Kato not here.
Are you there?
Come on, Kato.
Kato, are you there?
Come on, Kato.
All right, Kato, spin that one more time. We'll do one more spin. Come on, here we go.
This is for Toronto.
Yeah, this is Toronto. Okay. Alicia, Gail Syllabus. Gail, Alicia, are you there?
No. What?
Sibley is not there. Ottawa is here though.
No, not there. One more time.
All right, one more time.
Never win it.
Just as you said. Oh. Kinko, are you there? Are these people registered didn't show up? Is that what happened?
Not here.
All right, we'll do it one more time because we got 3 pairs of Jordans. We got to get rid of them.
I'll take one, no problem. I'll take off your hats, guys.
Ottawa. Ottawa.
Ottawa, you're coming up next. You have your own wheel.
Disable the tickets. No, I didn't.
Yes.
Ganesh, are you there?
Only time?
Is that you? Oh. Oh my God. All right. We're gonna have to do this one more time, folks. I gotta give away these shoes.
A question. I see someone. I see.
Oh wait, she's here. She's here.
Yeah. Who's that? Kanisha?
Kanisha, is that you?
If you don't say nothing, you don't get nothing.
Can they unmute though? Or are people allowed to unmute?
Yeah, they can. She can unmute.
Kanisha, is this you, Geddes?
Nah, she's just smart. Yes.
I know.
I don't know if this is you. You're not saying nothing. I can't. I can't give it to you.
Ottawa is here.
I can't. I don't know. Like your name doesn't match. You're not saying nothing to validate something.
Kanisha, I unmuted you. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, but that's not my name.
Nice try.
I'm just trying to try something.
Wow. Nice try.
Okay,
Spin it again. Spin it again. Oh my goodness.
That was smart. I admire that.
Should have owned that.
Yeah, just take it. Yeah.
It's taking too long.
Okay.
Thompson Cheryl?
No, not here.
But you know what? It's close enough. Ryan Thompson, you still there?
Yeah.
Say something, brother.
That man deserves it.
Ryan Thompson.
Oh, he was active too.
Ryan Thompson,
Where'd he go?
The right time.
not there?
He's still here.
Yay, Ryan Thompson won, yay! All right, move on. Ryan Thompson won a
Ottawa,
pair of
let's go
J's.
to Ottawa next.
All right, Ottawa.
Ottawa, are you ready?
Ottawa.
Let's go.
I would be so it'd be so funny if Arnold won. Can you put his name in there? Smith Victor Claire, are you there? All right, spin it again.
Can we say that he's there?
No.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, are you there?
So we have a proposition for you guys. So the name right before is here.
Who's it?
So Chris is here.
Chris, let me talk to you.
Okay.
Chris.
It's me,
Chris,
I'm here.
What's one thing you learned from tonight's event? What's one thing you learned from tonight's event?
Or do I get a haircut?
What? What's one thing you learned from tonight's event?
Black people are disproportionately pulled over by the police all over Canada, not just Toronto.
All right, I'll give it to you guys. All right.
All right, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg, are you ready, Winnipeg?
My name in there?
Winnipeg, let's go.
Demi?
Is Demi there?
All right, congratulations. And then we have a beard kit. Tamari in Toronto, give it to whoever you want. Folks, thank you very much. It was awesome. We will do another barbershop talk. Am I on the camera? I don't see Warren. I want to see Warren. There we are. There zoom in. The face is oily, but it's okay. It's been fun. Thank you for rocking with us tonight. Really appreciate it. We will do another barbershop talk in the near future. We got a lot of feedback. I learned a lot. I trust you learned a lot. And the most important thing, please share that knowledge, what you learned. Someone can benefit from it. If we really want to make true change in our community, we got to show up. We got to be active, proactive at that. And we got to speak up where we have the opportunity to speak up to be safe. Again,
Warren,
thank you.
Warren.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Warren.
Yeah. Yes.
I've got
Ottawa
a
says,
so I'm gonna say. Hey Warren, you hearing me?
Wow, man. Say it
Hey,
again.
Warren, you hearing?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, what I want to say is that look, this couldn't happen without you and your vision and your commitment and investment in doing this. I said, how the fuck is he gonna do this? Right? But you actually pulled it off. So my big time respect and appreciation goes to you and your team for actually making this happen. This was not about talk. This was about action.
Show talk. Big up the things.
Hold on. You know what? But can Marlon, can you put the camera on Tamari? Because I gotta give it to him. But put the camera on Tamari. All of it. All that camera goes to Tamari for a second. Put it on Tamari.
Yeah, he wants the camera on you tomorrow.
No. On tomorrow?
Yeah, come on, tomorrow. Take it.
Tamari, this is because of you. I appreciate you. All those nights talking to you, you mentoring me. This is because of you. This is why this happened. That's it. Go home. Have a good night.